Part 2. Madam, she has a tender heart. Author, Bhaya 11U. Chapter 11. Chapter 11 Golden Finger. After the twins had washed themselves and got into bed, they immediately started snoring as soon as they touched the pillows. The two children were exhausted after a long day's walking today. Sukingyu tucked them in and began to study her golden fingers with peace of mind. She dropped things several times and found that her strength had increased, thinking that the golden finger was her own strength. I didn't expect it to be. Because she found that her father and Xiao Qingyang were both very strong. I heard that her eldest brother Suqingsong is even more powerful, and one person can do as much work as 2 or 3 people in the fields. If the step-grandma hadn't been reluctant to let her grandson be drafted, maybe Suqingsong would have stayed and continued working. It's just that when it comes to her golden finger, it's quite a headache. It works sometimes and sometimes not, which makes Sukingyu want to go crazy. Even after studying it for so many days, I still don't understand the timing of triggering it. When she went downstairs to get takeout that day, she was thrown from a high altitude and hit the large shuoqiao. She didn't know if it was compensation or something, but she discovered that she had an extra takeout system. Even the takeout she ordered at noon that day came with her and was saved in the system space. In the first few days after arriving, she ate porridge and pickles every day, and her mouth was filled with tears. She thought it would be great if there was a takeaway, so she could order whatever she wanted. In this summer, a glass of iced drink, a big watermelon, poplar nectar, whatever, it's just like the gods wouldn't change it. Sukinjao was lying on the bed drooling when an operation panel appeared in front of her eyes, which was exactly the same as the app she used to order takeout in her previous life. Even running errands. Just as her eyes were shining, she was making a fuss, but when she got to the payment place, she stopped eating. She has no money. There is no money in the system's account, and she has no money to pay. You should top up the money on my card from my previous life and compensate me. Sukingyu went crazy. Although money is not everything, it is impossible not to have money. There are all kinds of dishes from the southeast, northwest, and northwest on the takeout system. Even if you have to run errands to the pharmacy to buy a potion for activating blood circulation and removing blood clots, you have no money. So many depressing realities. She still has money in her bank card, so you should make up for it. Come here. Sukingyu wanted to go crazy and closed the door for her, finally leaving a small window for her. This window couldn't be opened either. I really want to die again. In the takeout space, there was only the takeout she ordered that day. It would be okay if she didn't say this, but she would go crazy even more if she did. Order braised pork, roast duck in honey sauce, prawns in tomato sauce, braised goose, and chicken. Isn't it delicious? What kind of body to keep, what kind of salad to order? Still a vegetarian salad. Not even a piece of chicken breast, ham, or half an egg. Sukingyu finally ate the salad with tears in her eyes, and the bird still faded from her mouth. In the next few days, she lay in bed and studied, and finally understood it a little bit. This garbage system collects ingredients. What exciting news! Sell the ingredients to it and convert them into money, so you can buy the items inside. So she secretly asks Xiao Qingxin to cut a pound of leeks in the vegetable garden. The system immediately marked organic chives in bold black letters, and the price was quite high. You could exchange it for a portion of scrambled eggs with chives. Sukingnao couldn't help but scream up to the sky, her hands were trembling, and she immediately placed an order, but the money wasn't enough. The food prices are enough, but the delivery fee is ridiculously high. It's not just ordinary black. The oily leeks were floating in front of her eyes, and the yellow eggs in the green were still very exciting. Suqingying held back her saliva and asked Xiao Qingxin to secretly go to the vegetable garden and cut a pound of leeks before successfully placing the order. Half an hour later, This extraordinary scrambled egg with chives was finally sent to the system space. She excitedly took out the dishes, and excitedly invited the twins to share them. The two children had not seen the smell of oil for a long time. Who would have thought that the two little things could not be seen? They, see, don't see. The scrambled eggs with leeks was poured onto her large porcelain bowl, but the two siblings could only see the large porcelain bowl and not the food inside. Sukingyu almost fainted. This useless system. Later, she cut leeks several times herself and replaced them with a bottle of blood-activating potion. She drank bitter concoction every day until she almost ascended to heaven. The green concoction was smeared on her hair, which almost dyed her hair green. She really couldn't bear it. Later, Sukingyu tried several more times. Only then did I realize that other people may not be able to see or enjoy the things taken out of the system. The system follows her, can she only use it? Did God hit her here to ensure that she would not starve to death or die of illness, as compensation for her? What a thief! The twins were sleeping soundly. Sukingyu studied it for a while with confidence, and finally had to give up. This system obviously charges low and sells high. If others can't see it, she can't take it out and exchange it for copper coins. This system is broken. Sukingyu was so angry that she felt stuffy in her chest, put it away, and fell asleep. Iced desserts, yes, fresh cut fruits, yes, roast chicken, yes, but no money. Sukingyu didn't even have a penny of private money. Not only could she not use copper coins to pay for her money, but she also had to exchange things for things. She didn't even have the ingredients. She cut off a large piece of leeks in the vegetable garden. She even heard her mother scolding Hua Bao's family, but she didn't dare to cut them anymore. The next day, Sukingyu had eaten the morning meal, waited for Su's father to come back from the fields, and then walked with him to Uncle Su's house with the twins. She didn't want to bring many things to Lu's house. The Su family's family situation was like this. When the Lu family hired her, they naturally inquired about her family's situation. Since they insisted on hiring her, they couldn't talk about the dowry. She mainly saw that her parents and her room were empty, so she planned to do 2 daily things for her parents and twins. Anyway, her father would provide the money. Then let the carpenter come to the house to make a partition to separate her room into 2. Otherwise, her room will be cheaper. After she left, Qingyang and Qingxin might have to move out to live with their cousins. This room might be used for their cousin's wedding, so she would have to leave it to the twins. When Sukingyu and his party arrived at Carpenter Su's house, they saw the yard filled with wood chips and semi-finished wooden objects. Sukingyu said hello to Uncle Su and others, and then started to look at a bunch of wooden things. I can see that although their style is not new, the workmanship is very fine, and it is obvious that they have been carefully crafted. Uncle Su and his children and grandchildren are still very good at their craftsmanship. These days, craftsman's craftsmanship is passed down from generation to generation, from master to apprentice, from father to son, and from son to grandson. It is passed down from generation to generation and accumulated from generation to generation. Many technical tasks are not disclosed to the public. They are in the hands of one's own family and cannot be learned by others. Good craftsmen all have real skills. Su's father and Uncle Su were discussing Sukingyu's dowry, and Sukingyu stopped in front of a chest of drawers. He opened and closed the drawer, closed and opened it, then pulled it out completely and looked at it carefully. The twins followed her, watching closely. "Young prostitute, do you want to make a chest of drawers?" Uncle Su's eldest son came over and asked. "Madam, she has a tender heart." Author, Bha Xiaoye 11U. Chapter 12. Uncle Plain. Su Qingying stood up when she saw him asking. The sons of Uncle Su's family all learned his carpentry work, and his grandchildren also followed him in this business. Uncle Su's sons are particularly interestingly named for carpenter's tools such as axes, planers, saws, and drills, while his grandsons all have tables, stools, and cabinets. It's also fresh. Su Qingying smiled at Su Musha. Qingying wants to make a chest of drawers, Su Muji asked again with a smile. Su Qingying smiled and nodded, I want to make 2 chests of drawers, but I want them to be different. Oh. The hematoxylin plane was very interesting. I glanced at several finished and semi-finished chests of drawers in the yard. They were all of common styles on the market, regular, simple and elegant. Most ordinary people's homes have cabinets like this. The price is nothing more than the quality of the wood, the carving, or not, and the fineness of the work. What do Qingying think? You don't like any of this? Su Qingying smiled and shook her head. I walked to a chest of drawers that had not been painted yet, opened and closed a drawer, closed and opened again. It was a perfect fit, the pull and close were smooth and without any obstruction, and there were no burrs at all after polishing. It was obvious that the job was done well. Very detailed. Although it is a small family workshop in the countryside, it is already very good at this kind of work. Su Muchen also stepped forward to take a look, and saw Su Qingying pulling and closing, but he couldn't figure out her intentions, so he followed her and watched her movements. Hey, don't pull too hard, or you may drop it. Su Muking saw that Su Qingying's movements were a bit big, so he hurriedly stepped forward and spread his hands to protect her. Yeah, that's easy to pull off. You can't open the drawers of this cabinet too hard. Look, you have to pull them out slowly, and you can't pull them all out. Su Mukian pushed the cabinet in and closed it, then pulled it out gently and demonstrated again. Su Qingying stood aside and watched with a smile. What do Qingying want to do? Didn't you like any of these? This one is not done yet. It will look better after the flowers are carved and painted. You pick a design, and then my uncle will carve a lotus flower for you. It will look good. The meaning is still there good. Su Muchen thought that Su Qingying disliked the unsightly chests of drawers. Su Qingying didn't say anything. She just pulled the twins who were following her and asked them to pull it. She also put heavy objects in the drawer and asked them to pull it. Su Muchang looked at it confusedly. This action attracted both Su Dehai and Uncle Su. Qingying wants to choose a chest of drawers to add to her dowry. Uncle Su came over and touched the 2 twins. No, I want to add 2 to put at home for my parents and twins. Su Qingying shook her head, and before Su Dehai could speak, she said to Uncle Su, Uncle, I want to do something different from this. Then she told them her thoughts. Today's chests of drawers don't have rails. If the slide rails are not installed, the drawer will fall out easily if the entire drawer is pulled out. If you pull out the upper drawer, it may fall and hit your feet. Today's wood is all solid wood, dead and heavy. The feeling of being hit on the foot is not ordinary sour. When she wanted to buy it and put it at home, Su Qingying didn't trust the twins to open the drawer. Thinking about the drawers equipped with tracks in later generations, I have some different ideas. Uncle Su and Su Muchen were thoughtful after listening. Following Su Qingying's gesture, the father and son pulled out the entire drawer and looked at the side panels on both sides. After studying for a long time, their eyes became brighter and brighter. Come on, Qingying girl, tell me about it, Uncle Su greeted Su Qingying. Su Qingying came closer and started talking to him. There are many types of drawer rails. Except that the rails with steel balls are not easy to make, it is still easy to add an iron piece or stick a piece of wood to cut a groove. This track can be used as more than just a drawer. Su Muchen is the most spiritual and understanding among Uncle Su's children and grandchildren. He is better than his master, and he immediately thought of many possibilities. Yes, tracks can be added to doors, windows, tables, stools, bed cabinets, etc. as long as necessary, Su Qingying said. Uncle Su was squatting and studying the cabinet while listening to Su Qingying and Su Muchen's speech. He nodded repeatedly and his eyes were astonishingly bright. No matter how good a craftsman is, it is easy for him to get stuck in his fixed thinking. As long as others give him a little nudge, he can immediately clear up the clouds and see the sun. Girl Qingying, your idea is very good, this is it. Uncle Su raised his thumb at Su Qingying and glanced at Su's father again. Father Su straightened his back proudly. Just like a child who got a new toy, the father, son, and grandson of the Su family got Su Qingying's idea and immediately asked Su Qingying for advice. This conversation led to lunchtime. Let's have lunch at home, and Su and her wives took the twins and helped Su Qingying and her daughter. No, I'll go back now. Father Su looked up at the sun and couldn't help but feel anxious. The morning passed by so quickly, and he didn't even have time to go to the ground. Seeing that he couldn't keep her, Uncle Su said, "Don't worry, Qingying girl, I will take your uncles and brothers to help you with the work. I will make sure to get you out before you get married. The work must be done carefully." Su Qingying just said that she would keep these things at home, but Su's father disagreed, so Su Qingying said nothing more. Let's just wait until we get married. The Lu family should not be short of these things. Young girl Qingying, you really don't want to be carved? The red paint looks nice and festive. Su Muji persuaded again and glanced at Su Dehai. Su Dehai smiled bitterly at him and shook his head. The child has big ideas, what can he do? Just listen to the child, it's what she uses. No, I just like the color of the wood. A top layer of varnish is enough. There is no need to carve the flowers, and it is easy to hide the dust, Su Qingying said with help. Su Muchen had no choice but to give up and looked at each other with Uncle Su. Uncle Su then said to Su Qingying, "Girl Qingying, your track is unprecedented. My ancestor has never had such an idea. Just tell me this, and I deserve to be ashamed. Let's do this, I gave you 8 taels of silver, it means I bought your idea." No, how can we get money here? This is just what the girl was thinking at the moment. Su Dehai waved his hand after hearing this. Uncle Su rolled his eyes at Father Su and interrupted him. Said to Su Qingying, "Girl Qingying, what do you think?" Su Qingying glanced at Su Dehai and smiled in her heart when she saw that he had an anxious look on his face, fearing that Su Qingying would open his mouth. This honest dad, how much money is the hard work worth? Ideas and creativity are the most valuable. After thinking for a while, he said, "Uncle, just give me 5 taels. I will take the 20 taels as a deposit box, and give the 3 taels to my parents to save for the twins. If my father wants to buy something else in the future, just give me some discounts. I just hope you won't tell others, my grandma is not easy to get along with." Father Su and Mother Su are both honest. When something happens, they hope that Uncle Su and his family can help him in the future. The male grandson of Uncle Su's family. The father and son of the Su family looked at each other and declined. Seeing Su Qingying's firm attitude, they had no choice but to promise, "Don't worry, girl Qingying, our family is tight-lipped and will never tell anyone about it. In the future, no matter what happens to my parents, we will only charge for the wood." After saying that, he asked Aunt Su to get the silver. Su Dehai was dumbfounded. He came here to make a dowry box for his daughter. Why didn't he confiscate the money and take the money back? Until the money was stuffed into Aunt Su's arms, he still felt that it was very hot and he didn't know what to do. It made the Su family laugh. Uncle Su smiled and said to Su Qingying, "Your father is an honest man. He will never fight for anything in his life. It seems that he is suffering a bit at the moment, but luck lies behind." After saying a few words of advice to Su Dehai, Su's father collected the money anxiously. His hand was still covering his chest, as if it didn't feel real unless he touched it. After bidding farewell to Uncle Su's family, Su Qingying took the twins and followed Su's father home. Before reaching the door of the house, I could faintly hear the sound of arguing coming from the courtyard. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Madam, she has a tender heart. Author, Bhyaoye 11U. Chapter 14. The meal in the main room was like a war. The few people who were usually more aggressive were childish compared to the Lu family. The dishes were cleaner than locusts crossing the border. The whole family was stunned. There were only a few drops of oil on the table, which made the Lu family feel like they were at a fairy banquet. Su's father and Su's mother were secretly glad that their children did not crowd together with them to eat. Didn't you see that even the most protective Zheng couldn't give you Fugui a couple of bites of food? Terrible. In the end, old Sudu said that he would be given an extra 5 taels of silver and would not ask for a dowry. The Lu family just refused and insisted on 50 taels. Ms. Wang jumped and scolded her, saying she wanted to break off the engagement. The Lu family just left. When I left, I also took away the eggs in the kitchen and the dishes to be cooked in the evening. Then he carried the sacks to the vegetable garden and took away all kinds of vegetables from a large area of vegetable land. Most of the various cereals in the kitchen jars, such as soybeans, mung beans, black beans, etc., were also dumped. Ms. Wang was so angry that she rubbed her chest, wishing she could go forward and fight Ms. Lu again. After the man left, he scolded Ms. Feng for a whole hour without taking a break. It's not embarrassing enough to say that she has chosen such an in-laws. And Su Yuwen came back after the Lu family left. Standing next to his mother, he only said a word of help, saying that the Lu family daughter was found by Wang, but Wang pointed at her nose and scolded her for a long time. Su Yuwen, her eldest grandson, usually held some weight in her heart, but at this time Wang was angry, sprayed foam on her, and scolded both of them bloody. He clamored to break off the engagement. Old Sudu and everyone persuaded him to stop. Su Yuwen will be leaving in a few days. Where can I find a suitable one? Even if there is, you are looking for someone before leaving, aren't you afraid of someone else's lion opening your mouth? Su Qingying and the twins hid in the room with the door closed and listened for a long time, and found out that it was wonderful. It turns out that cursing is an art form, tisk tisk. Su Qingying laughed when she saw the two little things looking out from under the door while being frightened. Afraid of dirtying the ears of the two little ones, I pulled them back to the bed and rubbed them for a long time. The three siblings had only been arguing for a while when Father Su and Mother Su opened the door and walked in. Outside the house, Ms. Wang had stopped talking, and everyone fled back to their houses as if they were being pardoned. Only then did Su's father have the opportunity to tell Su's mother about the 5 taels of silver, which shocked Su's mother so much that she opened her mouth. Why are you taking Uncle Su's money? Su's mother, like Su's father, is an honest person who doesn't think clearly about the joints inside. Su Qingying explained to her again. Maybe this is the first one. In the future, other furniture made by his family using this idea will be the only one. Maybe his family's family workshop can enter the homes of medium and large households, and then he will get more money. After hearing this, Mother Su breathed a sigh of relief and happily touched the 5 taels of silver again and again. This is money, I haven't even had the chance to see it. The 200 copper coins I had saved over the years could be touched several times at night. How many coppers can these 5 taels of silver be exchanged for? I can't even put it in my purse, so I need to put it in a box. After touching enough, he pushed all the 5 taels of silver to Su Qingying. This is all earned by Qingying, all given to Qingying. We are in the countryside and have no place to spend money. You are in the town, nothing is expensive. We don't even know what the Lu family is like. We have a little money and it's easier to do things, so my parents can rest assured. Su Qingying was moved. Seeing that Su's father also looked in agreement, she pushed the money back with a smile and took 2 taels from it. He said, "I'll just keep 2 taels with me, and my parents will keep the rest. Grandma is a picky person, so if you keep some money with you, you can guard against someone else." Su's father and Su's mother pushed hard, but they couldn't resist Su Qingying, so they had to accept the money. Su Qingying breathed a sigh of relief. It was too difficult for these 2 honest people to save money under Wang's nose. The 2 of them usually didn't have any scheming intentions. Su Qingying didn't want to ask these 2 honest people to go around begging for help when they needed money. Making money is more convenient for her than them. After a long rest, Su's father and mother went to the ground. Su Qingying stayed at home. She was about to go out, but Wang did not ask her to follow her. The house was suddenly empty, and the few children also ran outside to play. Su Qingying took the twins at home and waited for Su Mupian. Su Muping came in person, bringing his 2 sons, a big table and 3 stools. After a few people said hello, Su Mupian took his 2 sons into the house to measure the dimensions. Su Qingying used charcoal to draw a schematic diagram of the partition she wanted to make on the paper she brought with her from the Su Mu table. "Does the door need to be so big? Is this not our ordinary door?" Su Dashu asked. Su Muplane took Su San's tool to measure the dimensions and looked over. "Yes, what I want to do is to slide the door. The partition is 2 feet shorter than the wall, and the place where it connects to the beam is made hollow to facilitate ventilation. Making the door larger will also facilitate ventilation of the room inside. Don't do it. Changing the ordinary wooden door into a sliding door makes it easier to use the space. The room is too small, and it will look even smaller if the door is left vacant." Su Qingying said. "The partition inside is for Xiao Qingxing. A chest of drawers for 2 people will be placed at the door. The 5 drawers and 2 rows of double drawers are enough for the twins. Then it will be enough to make a table for Xiao Qingyang in the outside room. The bed should be placed against the wall. Make it smaller. 1 meter and 2 meters is enough for sleeping. The bed is not made of the current wooden frame and covered with wooden boards, but is made into a box. The bed boards are pulled up, and thick winter quilts and thick clothes can be placed in the bed box, and some small items can be stored. The room is small and cannot accommodate many boxes and baskets, so we can only use the space above and below the bed for storage." Su Muchen might as well have given him another surprise. Not only did the sliding door give him inspiration, the space on the bed was also used to the extreme. Even his mother and his wife were digging under the bed to hide things. Otherwise, you will just stuff all kinds of things and jars under the bed. When you look for them, you have to crawl under the bed and pull them out, and they will easily accumulate dust. "Qingying, you made good use of this bed." Su Muchen looked at the drawing and sighed. Su Qingying shook her head and chuckled, "If the room wasn't too small, I wouldn't take advantage of it like this. I still like the ventilation under the bed." Su Dazhuo Su Sanchi also praised the drawings. "This bed is so good at storing things. Thick winter quilts and clothes can be stuffed into it, and there is no need to make cabinets or cages in the room. Didn't you notice that the room is so small that it is crowded? Stacking boxes and cages doesn't even have a place to stand, and it looks messy. I'll make one when I get home." Su Muxiao nodded repeatedly after hearing this, and praised Su Qingying for a while. Su Qingying was embarrassed. The 2 little ones were leaning against her legs with their heads raised and their faces filled with pride. "Uncle won't charge you for this partition and 2 beds. If other people need it in the future, I will also design it this way," Su Mu said while squeezing Tuyo. Su Qingying smiled and said, "It's not worth anything, so Uncle Pian can just use it. The money is included in my dowry, and my grandfather gave it to me anyway." Su Muchang laughed. He decided to go back and discuss with his father to give Qingying the complete set of dowry that his family had made for someone else. Anyway, the family still had plenty of time, so they could just make another one as soon as possible. The next day is the big market in Fengting town, and many people in Kyoto village are going to the market. Mother Su was going to town to buy a dowry for Su Qingying today. She was afraid that the village chief's bullock cart would not be able to fit in the crowd, so she got Su Qingying up before dawn. Normally, Su's mother would be willing to pay 2 copper coins for the bus, but when her child was about to go out, she was reluctant to walk. She would walk as fast as she could, and the child wouldn't be able to stay at home for more than a few days. Mother Su's heart was full of melancholy. Su Qingying was half carried by Su's mother and sat on the bullock cart in a daze, swaying all the way until she had a full sleep before arriving in the town. When I opened my eyes, I saw that the sky was just beginning to turn white. But at the gate of the town, people were already coming and going. Drivers, people carrying burdens, people on the road, people with children in tow. It's noisy and lively. After getting off the car near the entrance of the town, Su Qingying followed Su's mother into the town, watching this vivid scene all the way. I find it very interesting. As she walked to the entrance of the town, she noticed eyes on her. She looked up and saw Lu Bachan standing on tiptoe at the gate of the city, looking towards her with his neck raised. Madam, she has a tender heart. Author, Bhaya 11U. Chapter 15. Su Qingying stopped in her tracks. Su's mother took 2 steps and saw that Su Qingying didn't follow. She turned around and followed her gaze, and stopped when she saw her. Who is that person? Staring at her daughter so unscrupulously. Lecher. They glared at the man and were about to pull Su Qingying away, but they didn't expect that man to come towards them. This, are people so arrogant nowadays? The sky is clear and the sun is shining brightly. She pulled Su Qingying and wanted to leave quickly. Mom, he is Lu Bachan. Su Qingying grabbed Su's mother's hand. Who? Ah. There were a lot of people at the gate of the town. Those who came early in the morning were all the people from neighboring villages carrying burdens and dragging their families to the market. Although Lu Bachan had long arms and legs, it still took him a while to get through the crowd. When he walked up to the mother-in-law, he timidly said, "Uncle, uncle, aunt." His face turned red. Su Qingying looked at it and laughed. Su's mother didn't know how to react. Su Qingying smiled, turned around and patted Su Qingying, then turned around and responded, then looked at Lu Bachan carefully. Su's father and Su's mother were not happy about the marriage. When the betrothal was being arranged, Wang went to the town privately and together with the second aunt of the Su family, they arranged the marriage with Lu's mother without telling the family and the couple. Mother Su has never even met the other person. After Su's father inquired about the character of the person who came back, he was even more displeased. He had farmland, a shop, and a small fortune in the town, but he had such good conditions, but he couldn't study. Her family Qingsong Qingyang was so eager to study that her family didn't let them go. The Lu family had the conditions for him to study, but Lu Bachan not only failed to achieve anything in his studies, he also flirted with cats and dogs, caused trouble everywhere, and did not do serious things. Mother Su didn't have a good impression of him. Even though I heard a few of my children come back and talk about it 2 days ago, my impression of him hasn't changed much. Seeing him at this time, he was tall and straight, his features were bright, his face was handsome, and his clothes were clean, which made him feel happy. Looking at him again, I saw that his eyes were pure and he didn't look like a playboy with a bad style, which added to my joy. Su Qingying saw that her mother was only sizing up the other person, making him blush and her head almost dropped to her chest. She asked with a smile, "Are you waiting for me?" Lu Bachan breathed an almost invisible breath and nodded, "Well, I've been waiting for you at the gate of the town for 2 days. What are you waiting for me for?" Just as Lu Bachan was about to speak, he saw Su's mother looking at him intently and hesitated again. After squeaking for a long time, he finally managed to say, "You haven't had breakfast yet, I'll take you to eat first. After hearing this, Mother Su said, I have eaten. I ate it at home. Before she finished speaking, she was pinched by Su Qingying. She turned to look and heard her daughter say, I'm not full. I just want to see where there is food in the town. When Su's mother heard this, she was so anxious that she wanted to talk to her. Unexpectedly, Lu Bachan had already talked about several places, and his daughter had also followed suit. Seeing Su Qingying blinking at her twice, she couldn't help but follow her into the town. As he walked, he looked at Lu Bachan and inquired, I brought Qingying here to buy a dowry today. I don't know what your family said. I am afraid that her coming in will displease my mother-in-law. When Lu Bachan heard this, his face turned red again. No, no, there's nothing to say. Just feel free to do it. You don't need to prepare anything. Just bring your belongings. We have them at home. Mother Su shook her head, that won't work. Your family has already paid the betrothal money, and our family still needs to prepare the dowry. Otherwise, if she gets married and people gossip about her, we as parents will feel uncomfortable. Lu Bachan led the way and didn't know how to answer, so he just scratched his head in embarrassment. Meeting my future mother-in-law for the first time was so stressful that I didn't know what to do with my hands and feet. The few of them entered the town while talking. Lu Bachan wanted to take them to a restaurant. Su's mother disagreed, so she found a nearby noodle stall and pulled Su Qingying to sit down. Lu Bachan saw that the store also had a good reputation in the town, so he complied with her wishes without insisting. The boss obviously recognized Lu Bachan and teased him a few words, making him blush even more. Mother Su happily chatted with the store owner now. In the end, the store owner was happy and put several more pieces of meat in their noodle bowls. Mother Su was instigating while talking to Lu Bachan, and almost made Lu Bachan run away from the question. After finally finishing the noodles, Su Qingying saw that Lu Bachan was uncomfortable, so she said to Su's mother, Mom, go to the cloth shop in front and wait for me. I'll say a few words to him and come over to find you in a while. Su's mother didn't agree at first, but when Su Qingying insisted, she had no choice but to agree. Before she left, Lu Bachan paid the money quickly before she could take out her wallet. Mother Su felt even more happy. This kid has a keen eye. As I walked, I looked back and soon entered the cloth shop. Lu Bachan wiped the sweat from his forehead and let out a long breath. Looking back, he saw Su Qingying looking at him with a playful look on her face turning red again. What do you want from me? Su Qingying asked, clearing her throat. Lu Bachan then took out a purse from his arms and handed it to Su Qingying. This is the money I saved, you can use it. You can buy some jewelry, cloth, furniture and other large items at home, so you don't need to bring them here. After I leave, if you live separately, you will have to move out, and it will be troublesome for you to live alone when I am not here, so you might as well hire someone to do it. Su Qingying looked at the purse stretched out in front of her and did not move. The family gave me money for the dowry. Seeing that she refused to accept it, Lu Bachan insisted, I don't want Wu to talk about you in the future. And we agreed that day that if I'm not around, you will burn paper and clothes for my mother and my grandparents at all times of the year. What's mine is yours. Su Qingying took it without waiting for him to finish. Seeing him breathe a sigh of relief, he smiled. Seeing her mother peeking out of the door of the cloth shop, he asked, Is that all? Lu Bachan also followed her gaze and saw that Su's mother was looking at them, so he had to say, Well, I'll tell you about other things after you get married. Su Qingying said okay, and the two of them got up and left the noodle shop. Lu Bachan watched her walk into the cloth shop before he turned his eyes away. He turned around and walked, and as soon as he turned into the alley of South Street, someone hooked his neck. Madam, she has a tender heart. Author, Bhaya 11U. Chapter 16. Lu Bachan was startled when someone grabbed his neck. He looked carefully and saw that it was Lu Juyi. He was so angry that he kicked him. Lu Juyi dodged him with a smile. Soon he came up again, put his arm around his shoulder, and smiled evilly. I saw it, why don't you tell the truth? I was wondering why people kept telling me that they saw you looking out at the city gate early in the morning. I don't know what you were doing. It turned out to be the wife-looking stone. Lu Bachan's face became hot when he heard it, and he punched him in the chest. What wife-looking stone? Do you have to say it so harshly? Lu Juyi laughed. Isn't it the wife-looking stone? For 2 consecutive days, I have been guarding the town gate before dawn. Today I finally waited for someone. Lu Bachan ignored him and walked away. He was going back to catch up on his sleep. He was so sleepy after getting up so early. He took 2 steps and saw Lu Juyi still following him. He turned around and looked at him seriously. Lu Juyi was scared, and he protected his chest with his hands for fear that he would come again. Have you started to work for your father? Lu Bachan asked. Lu Juyi felt relieved. He walked over and put his hand on his back. My father has been seeking a miscellaneous official position in the county. He is addicted to officialdom. He issues orders at home when he has nothing to do, and makes my mother and I run around. Who made me his son? Isn't it called up early in the morning to run errands? Lu Bachan was a little envious after hearing this. For the first time, he felt that it was a good thing to have a reputation. Lu Juyi's father was just a scholar, and he was not conscripted in these 2 conscript ions. Most of his friends who grew up together were conscripted. Now his father has found another official position. Although he is a low-ranking official, as a miscellaneous official in Pingchuan County, he can also receive a salary and certain benefits. In Fenting Town, no one will easily provoke him. If he had not been angry with his family at the beginning and studied hard, maybe, he could also have a wife and children around him. He shook his head to shake off some thoughts. He looked at Lu Juyi steadily and said, after I leave, if she needs help with anything, I hope you can lend a hand for the sake of our long-term friendship. I am grateful to you, brother. After that, he bowed to Lu Juyi solemnly. Lu Juyi was startled and jumped away. What are you doing? Who are we talking to? Hey, are you serious? Lu Bachan rolled his eyes at him and turned away. If you are not serious, I will bow to you. I am free. Hey, don't leave, are you serious? Doesn't it meet your standards? Do you really like it? Lu Juyi chased after him while yelling. Su Qingying didn't know what happened in the alley of South Street. She picked cloth with Su's mother in the dazzling cloth shop. Su's mother weighed the silver in her arms, touched this and looked at that, and couldn't make up her mind. Mother, these are too bright, let's choose something plainer. How can a newly married young lady wear something so plain? She should wear something brighter, Su's mother said as she picked up the red cloth in her hand and showed the shop assistant how to cut it. Su Qingying had a headache, but, mother, Lu Bachan will leave after the wedding, and I'm alone at home. If I wear such bright clothes, aren't you afraid that people will say something bad about me? Su's mother paused when she heard it. That's right, the husband is fighting outside, and his life or death is unknown. The young lady is alone at home wearing red and green. No. Su's mother decisively pushed the cloth in her hand back. The shopkeeper who was using the abacus in the corner came over immediately after hearing this, pushed aside the clerk who was patiently accompanying him in the selection, and said to Su's mother and the others, so you are the in-laws of Lu's grocery store. Lu Bachan hired your daughter, right? Su's mother nodded after hearing this. Does the shopkeeper know him? The shopkeeper smiled at Su's mother and said, I just heard it. If you are talking about Lu's eldest son, of course I know him. We both run shops in the town, and his family has been running for many years, so we know each other. After saying this, he looked at Su Qingying and agreed with what she had just said. He secretly praised her in his heart, thinking that this girl seemed to be a wise person. After Lu Bachan left, maybe this girl could keep the house for him. So he enthusiastically recommended it to Su's mother. Su Qingying also learned a lot from him. The shopkeeper was very good at talking, and helped to choose a lot of things, which were very in line with Su Qingying's aesthetics. Soon, there was a pile of cloth on the counter. Mother Su was so happy to choose. When it was time to pay, she was dumbfounded by the pile. The family originally gave only 1 or 2 taels of silver, which was not enough. The shopkeeper understood it at a glance. He took some more from it. It's not easy for you two to take it. Keep these to make clothes first. When your daughter gets married in the town in the future, she can buy them whenever she needs them. It's convenient. Su Qingying felt that this shopkeeper was really good at talking and being a man. She smiled and said, I want all of them. Take the extra ones home to make 2 sets for your younger brother, sister-in-law, father and mother. The shopkeeper smiled and put the cloth down again, and said to Mother Su, you have raised a good daughter. She is filial. Mother Su smiled at him, then turned back and glared at Su Qingying. In addition to the 1 or 2 taels of silver given by her family, she also had 3 taels of silver given by Master Su's family yesterday. The silver on her should be enough to pay. But she also wanted to buy Qingying a silver bracelet and silver earrings. Before she could hesitate, Su Qingying took out the purse given by Lu Mingcheng and paid the money. Su's mother widened her eyes. Where did this girl get the money? She only had 2 taels of silver on her, and this piece of cloth was nearly 3 taels. Mom, let's talk later. After saying that, he turned around and said, Shopkeeper, we have to go shopping again. Can these cloths be stored here? Yes, yes. Why not? Just go shopping and pick it up later. Su Qingying thanked the shopkeeper and pulled Su's mother out. As soon as she walked out, Su's mother grabbed her and asked her about the origin of the money. Given by Lu Bachan. Ah. Su Qingza took out his purse and looked inside. There should be more than 10 taels left. That's enough. Su's mother reacted and slapped her angrily. How can you ask for his money? We haven't married yet. You are giving and receiving in private. Others have seen it and you don't know how to talk about it? Su Qingying rolled her eyes towards the sky. Is she afraid of others talking? Is she someone who is afraid of other people making irresponsible remarks? Now that they have decided to get married, they are a couple who share honor and disgrace. Do they still need a? Of course his money also belongs to her, and she will certainly spend it on him when she makes money in the future. Seeing that Su Qingying looked at ease, Su's mother slapped her hard a few more times. Thinking of something, he asked again, also, I clearly said I came after breakfast at home this morning, why did you still have breakfast with him? And you still winked at me. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Madam, she has a tender heart. Author, Bhaya 11U. Chapter 17. Su Qingying pushed Su's mother forward and said, Mom, haven't you heard the saying, a person's character can be truly seen at the dinner table? Is there such a saying? Mother Su tilted her head and thought. But you can indeed get a preliminary glimpse of a person's character from the dinner table. Seeing Su's mother tilting her head and thinking, Su Qingying said again, don't you and Dad always want to know who he is? From hearsay, sometimes you can only hear 2 or 3 points, and sometimes there is not even 1 point of truth. You still have to go see it yourself. After listening to Su Qingying's words, Su's mother thought about how Lu Bachan was eating in the morning. He was polite, and let her eat first, then Qingying, and then him. He waited until Su's mother moved her chopsticks before eating. When Su's mother stopped, he stopped too. When eating, he is courteous and courteous. He does not pull or lick his lips randomly. He drinks soup without making any noise. He is not picky about his appetite. It is obvious that he is a well-educated person. What if he's just faking it? After more than 10 years of eating, the habit has long been formed. It's not easy to pretend for a while. Mother Su felt a little more satisfied. Hearing what Su Qingying said at this time, she felt very happy, raised the corners of her mouth, and glanced at Su Qingying's arms again. He said, "Waiting at the city gate early in the morning just to get money for you." Su Qingying nodded, "I'm afraid he's been guarding me for 2 days. He said he was afraid that his stepmother would tell me if I married naked." When Su's mother heard this, she sighed and said, "It's hard for him to think so much about you and be so thoughtful. It seems like he wants to live a good life." He also told Su Qingying, "Don't touch the money inside anymore. Let him take it all with him when he leaves. Those from poor families and rich families should bring more money with them. Maybe they can save their lives at critical moments." Su Qingying nodded. "Then I went to the jewelry store with Su's mother and bought a thin silver bracelet, a pair of silver earrings, and a silver-plated hairpin before I came out." After shopping around the street again and buying some other things, Su's mother only had 1 tael of silver left. Su Qingying wouldn't let her buy any more. She didn't want to give her the 20 taels of silver she had earned. Su Qingying thought that she would marry in the town anyway, and it would be convenient to go back if she had something to do in the future, so she didn't force it. Su's mother felt sorry for the money, but at the same time she was happy. Fortunately, with the 3 taels of silver given by Su Mujiang's family and the cloth payment made with Lu Bachan's silver, Qingying's dowry was more decent. The mother and daughter carried large and small bags to the cloth shop to get some cloth. Unexpectedly, Lu Bachan jumped out of nowhere and took the things from Mother Su's hand before she and the two could react. "Auntie, you bought a lot of things, I'll hire a car for you." Mother Su waved her hands repeatedly, "No, no, there is a bullock cart in the village, right at the gate of the town, which is convenient. There is no need to spend extra money." After saying that, he followed behind with his hands free, staring at Lu Bachan's back and grinning. Su Qingying didn't know what her mother was laughing at. She even forgot about her own daughter. She just followed Lu Bachan with her hands spread out, not even mentioning helping her carry 1 or 2 items. The 3 of them entered the cloth shop. Lu Bachan was teased a few times by the shopkeeper. He blushed and picked up the cloth and walked to the gate of the town. Mother Su thanked the shopkeeper and pulled Su Qingying to follow him with a smile. After finding the ox cart in the village and putting down his things, Lu Bachan was watched and teased by several villagers who had arrived early. This guy was also thin-skinned, so after being teased for a few words, he turned around and ran away. "Ching Song mother, this is your second son-in-law." The young man looked so energetic. "Yes, you are so beautiful and beautiful. You have found a treasure. You married Qingying to the town. I heard that you also gave her a bride price of 50 taels. 50 taels. I heard that my family has fields, land, and a shop." Today, Mother Su was the mother-in-law. The more she looked at her son-in-law, the more satisfied she became. She sat down on the car floor with a smile and started chatting with others. When everyone arrived and the bullock cart was about to start, Lu Bachan ran over again, carrying a large bag of pastries and stuffing it into Su's mother's arms, asking her to take it back for the twins to eat. After saying that, without waiting for the uncles and aunts to make a few jokes, they ran away again with a red face. Su Qingying saw him looking like he had been chased by a dog, and found it very funny. The eldest son of the village chief's family drove the bullock cart and said to Su's mother, "You are a good son-in-law." Mother Su was modest, but she couldn't hide her smile. "Well, she's not a bad person." Su Qingying was teased all the way back. Sometimes she would respond in agreement, but if she didn't want to answer, she would remain silent. Anyway, she just pretended to be a thin-skinned young lady waiting to be married. After entering the village entrance, the mother and daughter got off the ox cart with big and small bags in their hands. They entered the yard and started frying again. "Auntie, you bought so many things," Mrs. Zheng ran over exaggeratedly. She has a noisy temperament, and will get in wherever there is excitement. When she saw the mother and daughter carrying a lot of things on their backs, they immediately surrounded them and started to pick them up. Su Qingying held all the important things in her arms, turned aside to avoid her search, strode into the house and put down her things, then turned around and took the things from Su's mother's hand, then snatched 2 pieces of cloth from Zheng's hand, and turned around. She carried her things back to her house. Zheng's hands were empty and she stared blankly at Su Qingying's back. After coming back to his senses, he said to Mrs. Wang, "Mom, how much money did you and Dad give to my sister-in-law for the dowry? My uncle hasn't gotten married yet, and he has to buy things in 2 days. The younger ones in the family, as we grow older, there is no longer enough room to live in." Mrs. Zheng was worried that the 50 taels would be spent by Mrs. Wang and would not fall into the hands of their third wife. Su Qingying had just put her things away and heard her. She looked at her calmly and said, "I will give you 1 tael of silver. Didn't you all see it?" After saying that, she pulled the twins who were leaning over and prepared to take them to wash their hands and eat. After wandering all the way, she was starving to death. Mrs. Zheng didn't believe it. 1 tael of silver can buy so many things. The cloth alone is worth several taels of silver. "Mother, did you give money to my sister-in-law in private?" Su Qingying ignored her. Mrs. Wang obviously wouldn't spend a penny more for the big house, so she would do it secretly. She didn't even bother to do anything superficial about the room of people left behind by her former wife. Sure enough, I heard Mrs. Wang raise her voice and say, "What are you shouting about?" Then I heard Su's mother reply weakly, "My parents just gave me a couple of silver." "Then how do you have money to buy so many things?" Zheng's voice was sharp and sharp. Su Qingying acted as if she didn't hear anything and just took the twins and carefully washed their little hands. The 2 little things clung to her very tightly. They disappeared all morning, and when they came back, they ran to her side. It was lunchtime and everyone was in the courtyard. Obviously they are all very sensitive to money, especially those in the second house. Marry first and marry later. Not 2 days after Su Qingying got married, Su Yawen was about to get married. Yesterday, the Lu family came to make a fuss. They spent an extra 5 taels on the bride price. How much money can be used to celebrate the wedding in the end? Now Wang didn't speak yet. If the eldest brother is given more, there is no reason why the second brother, as his direct grandson, should give less. The people in the second room stood still in the courtyard. Su Qingying took the twins to wash their hands, turned around and scanned the people in the courtyard, and then focused on the people in the second room. Su he is the eldest son of the Wang family. Although Su Yawen is ranked lower than Su Qingsong, he is the eldest grandson of the Wang family. There is no reason not to prefer him. Normally Wang would bully the eldest brother, and the second brother would occasionally help with a few words, unlike Zheng, the third brother, who liked to follow Wang's footsteps. Although Fen was a reticent person in this room, in Su Qingying's opinion, her second aunt was truly shrewd. Zheng is usually allowed to play around, but the benefits he deserves are not less than the second wife. Moreover, her 2 sons and 2 daughters were well raised and had a good reputation in the village. Su Chunlin married better than her sister Qingliu. He seemed to be nimble with his hands and feet, and his 2 sons looked good too. As the eldest son, Su Yawen was pushed out to the battlefield this time, but she was not seen jumping up. Obviously he knew that he couldn't compete with the Wang family, and it was impossible for the Wang family to let the unmarried Su Saiquan go. Therefore, if you don't argue, you will argue. This time, Su Yaowen's marriage was almost entirely decided by Feng, and both Wang and Lao Sutiou agreed to all the requests. 50 taels of silver. I am afraid that in addition to the bride price for the Lu family, Su Yaowen will also have to take part of it away. Su Qingying had observed her family for so many days and saw that Su Yaowen was a sensible person. In addition, he was about to leave home and his future life and death were uncertain, so even if she gave him 50 taels, Su Qingying would not much to say. If the Su family stays in its original form, she won't care too much about it. But Zheng, why do you jump up? Then he looked at her and said, I will give you 1 tael of silver. The things you bought today did cost a lot of money, but I won't tell you the origin of the money, and don't ask. I will keep all the 50 taels of silver it's at home, and I won't care if you use it however you like. Our family hasn't separated yet, how can your big family hide private money? After Su Qingying finished speaking, she was about to turn around and go to the kitchen to serve the food. When she heard Zheng's words, she turned around and looked at her coldly. Do you think my parents, such honest people, can hide so much money under my grandma's noses? Then where does your money come from? Mrs. Zheng refused. You guess. Mrs. Zheng fell back in anger. Just as he was about to catch up, old Sutiou said, let's set the food. Zheng wanted to make trouble again, but when she saw Wang glare at her, she immediately stopped. My heart was filled with curiosity, like a bug scratching at me. Madam, she has a tender heart. Author, Bhao 11U. Chapter 18. After the meal, Mrs. Zheng was probably suppressed by Mrs. Wang and did not come to ask where the elder family got the money to buy the dowry. There was no commotion in the second room. Su's father and Su's mother breathed a sigh of relief, and Su Qingying's ears became clear. Then he and Su's mother discussed which pieces of cloth should be used to make clothes. I plan to make a red wedding dress and a few more casual clothes. Time was tight, so Mother Su called Feng, Xiaohe and Qiuju to help. Zheng couldn't move, so she let her go. This afternoon she spent the afternoon making clothes and shoes at home. After a tiring day, Su Qingying slept particularly soundly at night. And Lu Bachan also went to bed early that day. I woke up early for 2 consecutive days and went to bed earlier than usual, falling asleep almost as soon as I hit the bed. In his dream, a white, voluptuous woman wearing a bright red wedding dress, Ping Ting, came into his dream gracefully. With a shy face, she called him softly, husband. Lu Bachan grinned and laughed. He dreamed that they had a daughter. The daughter was also white, tender, and fleshy. She had red fingerprints on her face when she pinched her face, and her arms were as white and tender as lotus roots, and they seemed to be watery when pinched. Then he dreamed that in the years when he was away, his stepmother Wu used to rub his wife and daughter, doing laundry and cooking, and bossing them around. In the end, all the fair and fat daughters became skinny country girls. Then the family received news of his death. His wife was tortured too much, and she was sad and left her daughter behind. A daughter without a father and a mother would live an even less dignified life. Within 2 years, Wu's daughter was sold to a pig butcher, and then the butcher tortured her even more humiliatingly. Within 2 years, she died at a young age. Then within 2 years, the graves of his mother, his maternal grandparents, his wife, and his daughter could not be found. Lu Bachan gradually stopped crying, and his face was filled with tears. He was sobbing, and the pillow towel was wet. Then he dreamed of a dark, skinny, and flat Chai Huo girl pointing at his nose and scolding him, saying that he had no future, didn't study well, didn't practice martial arts well, died so early, didn't protect his wife and children, and was in vain as a husband. It's no use being a father. Skinny fingers like chicken claws poked his forehead, scolding him without stopping. Just when he was about to argue, he saw her dark and calm eyes, which seemed to be able to see people's hearts clearly. A bit familiar, who does it look like? Then she looked at him steadily, pointed at him and scolded him. Lu Baqin woke up after being scolded. In the darkness, he sat on the bedside, upright, breathing heavily. He thought of the absurdity of these years. In order to get angry with Lu Shenke, he didn't study hard. In order to attract his attention, he fought cockfights and drank in the flower house. He was happy to see him jumping behind and cleaning up the mess. As soon as he saw Lu Shenke being intimate with Wu and their children, he became angry. Just want to cause trouble. If he had to do something to make Lu Shenke jump around, he would feel comfortable even if he was scolded. He thought about what he had just dreamed about, how miserable their lives were, and how real they were, just like he had experienced it himself. If he had studied hard when he was studying, he would have obtained a meritorious service, and then sought a position. He would not have been expelled. Even if the days in the future are dull, there is no need to fight for one's life on the battlefield, and there is no need to be unable to protect one's wife, daughter, and family. Lu Baqin never thought about his future. It's always been one day at a time. Lu Baqin didn't sleep all night, and ran out before dawn the next day without eating. When I arrived at the steamed bun stall, I bought 2 steamed buns. I ate them in a few naps, and soon I was in front of the Yanggui Martial Arts Hall. Is Bo Chen here? Hey, here we are. Are you on duty today? Lu Baqin greeted the disciple on duty at the door. Yes. You came early enough today. Is it going to rain red? Lu Baqin punched him, and the two fought at the door before stopping. The disciple on duty rubbed his hands and feet, secretly complaining that this guy was good at martial arts today, and said, Master and his brothers are competing in the school field, you go quickly. Okay. Lu Baqin responded. The wind blew under his feet and he rushed towards the school ground. On the other side, Su Qingying felt refreshed after a good night's sleep. I don't know why I dreamed about that guy Lu Baqin yesterday. What was he dreaming about? Can't remember. Turning around, I saw the twins were still sleeping. When I saw the sky outside, I pinched the faces of the 2 little things in a bad way and woke them up. The 3 siblings had a fuss on the bed for a while before getting up to wash up. There is no such thing as breakfast among the 2 meals at the farmhouse. Get up early in the morning, before the sun rises, all the laborers go to the fields. They worked until the sun rose and the temperature in the ground warmed up, then they came back to rest and have lunch. Then rest for a long time to avoid the sun, and then go to the ground. I have to work until the sun goes down, then I call it a day and go home for dinner. Then, while it's still dark, wash up, do laundry, do some small jobs, and then take a nap as soon as it gets dark. Lighting a lamp costs money. Su Qingying gradually got used to this kind of life. It's just that the 2 little ones are growing and hungry easily, so she will occasionally get something for them to eat. By the way, I would find some ingredients and sell them to her takeout system that works sometimes, so that I could satisfy my cravings when I was hungry. After washing up, I gave the 2 little ones a few pieces of cake that Lu Baqin bought yesterday, just to send the 2 little ones out to play. Unexpectedly, the 2 little ones didn't want to go out and insisted on sticking to her side. Su Qingying had no choice but to let them go. She moved a small stool and sat at the door to cut clothes, while the 2 little things were playing with themselves beside her. After a while, Su Muchen came over with his 2 sons and several nephews to install partitions for her. The 2 beds were not finished yet, but the partitions were quickly installed and the sliding doors were installed. The 2 little things were so novel and happy that they couldn't bear to let go. Xiao Chunxin was happily in the inner room, pushing the sliding door back and forth, locking it, and shouting loudly, "Brother, you can't open it?" Xiao Qingyang heard this and pushed it with his hands, then pulled it shut with both hands. "Sister, you've locked it, and brother can't pull it open." Xiao Qingxing opened the buckle from the inside again, moved the door, walked out with a smile, and said to Xiao Qingyang, "From now on, I will live inside and my brother will live outside. We are still in the same room. I am not afraid if I live inside. We can still talk quietly at night. After saying that, he ran over and hugged Su Qingying's thigh. It would be great if my sister didn't get married. The three of us still live in the same house and whisper together at night. It made everyone in Su Mujiang's family laugh. If your sister doesn't get married, she will become an old aunt in the future. Who will support her? The two little things said in unison, I will raise you. Su Qingying was so moved that she held them in her arms and rubbed them. Su Muchen laughed loudly when he saw this, and asked again, are you satisfied, Qingying girl? Su Qingying nodded. She was indeed a rare craftsman around here. This partition was made to her liking. He praised me several times. The younger members of the Su family all had smiles on their faces, and it was worthwhile for them to rush to work as a family. The two beds are almost ready. You don't require carving or other craftsmanship, and they are made very quickly. The two chests of drawers and the rails were made by your uncle himself. They must be beautiful for you. Before you get married, I can do it all for you. Su Qingying thanked him repeatedly, said a few more words, and sent the person away. Although the construction schedule is a little tight, Su Qingying is worried that if she doesn't finish the house before getting married, her two honest parents won't be able to handle the Wang family when she gets married. At noon, everyone in the field came back, and the partitions in the house attracted the attention of the whole family. Mrs. Zhang kept saying sour words. Seeing some rich people clamoring to separate their houses like this, they also want one room per person. While Mrs. Zhang was making sarcastic remarks, she and her two sons went to make trouble with Mrs. Wang and Lao Sudu. Feng felt quite regretful. Originally, she planned to tell her mother-in-law that after Qingying got married, Qingxing would live with Xiaohe, Qingyang would live with Yafugui, and the room would be given to Youwu. And Wu is getting older, so we will have to find a match for him in the next 2 years. If, like Youwen, you rush to look for someone at the end of the day, where can you find a good family? Wang and Lao Su were so troubled that they naturally saw the benefits of partitioning the house like this. But if they promised to be rich and noble, Xiaohe and Qiuju's houses would inevitably have to be changed. It doesn't cost money to renovate 2 rooms. Wang gave Su Qingying a hard look, saying that she was too busy. Su Qingying ignored her and didn't respond to her with half a glance. Su's father and mother Su were very surprised. They also thought that this house might not be able to be kept, but they didn't expect Qingying to ask Su Mujiang's house to make partitions. By dividing the house into 2 small rooms, both children can have their own space. The twins will be 7 next year and it will be hard for them to sleep together again. With such a partition, it is divided into 2 rooms. The small room is a bit small, but the 2 children can live in it for several years. My father couldn't bear to open up the house to Wencheng's wife, so he couldn't bear to tear down the partitions made with money. Mother Su was secretly happy. Now, this house can stay in their big house. In the future, my 2 daughters will have a place to sleep when they return. The couple felt happy and sad at the same time. They couldn't do anything for their daughter, but they always wanted her to come forward and plan for their house. Madam, she has a tender heart. Author, Bha Xiaoye 11U. Chapter 19. Within 2 days, Carpenter Su had installed the 2 beds. Not only did it attract the attention of the whole family, but also many people in the village came to see it. Most of the houses built in the countryside are low and narrow, and the floors inside are mostly made of rammed adobe. Adding a little water is like adding water to knead dough. Too much water will make it muddy. Even without adding water, a layer of dust will be removed. Most people's houses are filled to the brim with boxes, pots, shelves, wooden basins, tables, chairs and benches. There is no mention of storage at all. Su Qingying arranged the 2 beds, lifted the bed boards, stuffed everything into the bed boxes, then covered the bed boards and spread the mats, making it clean, tidy and private. In the small room inside, there is a double row, 5-drawer cabinet against the wall, and all the clothes and small items can be put in it. Then put a clay vase on the top of the cabinet and insert flowers picked by the twins from the wild. It is elegant and beautiful. The twins didn't have much storage at all, so Father Su and Mother Su stuffed a lot of things into them. As soon as the sliding door of the partition is opened, a small independent space will appear inside. The place connecting the beams is made of hollow partitions, which is breathable and ventilated. It is the envy of those who come to visit. Especially families with many children at home are clamoring to make a partition at home, even for beds with bed boxes. In addition to being able to put clothes and quilts, you can even hide food. For a time, Su Mujiang's orders surged. Ms. Zheng couldn't keep up her sarcastic words, and she had already been teasing Mr. Wang to do the same for Yu Fugui. Ms. Wang felt that Su Qingying was troublesome. It turns out that it's not that you can't live in that way, but it's troublesome. The money is brought by the strong wind, isn't it? Feng didn't say much, she was just busy preparing for Su Yuwen's marriage. As soon as they got married, they would be dragged to the battlefield, with life and death uncertain, and Feng felt sad and bitter in her heart. He stared at Su Yuwen intently all day long, fearing that he would miss a glance. Carpenter Su's family benefited from this and were given a complete set of dowry furniture. Su's father and Su's mother insisted not to do so. But Carpenter Sum and his family insisted on giving it. Su Qingying only picked out a few things that she liked and brought them with her, including a clothes hanger, a mirror stand, an embroidery stand, a chest of drawers, a descendant bucket, a wedding stool and a few other small items. Lao Suda didn't even make a wedding bed for Yinzi. With such a big bed, Su Qingying didn't want to bring a bed to marry, but only planned to bring bedding. Su Yuwen made a new one and put it in. In this way, the day came for her to get married. Since there were weddings in the family, Lao Suda didn't plan to have a big party on Su Qingying's wedding day. He just wanted to prepare a few tables for his family to eat. According to ancient rituals, they married first and then married. Since the time for Su Yuwen's gathering was approaching, Su Yuwen's wedding was scheduled for the day Su Qingying returned home. The wedding was so close that Su Qingying didn't feel that she couldn't make it big. But Mother Su kept talking about it for a few days. The eldest son Su Qingsong was conscripted away before getting married. The eldest daughter Su Qingliu didn't hold a banquet that year, nor did Su Qingying when it was her turn. Mother Su felt very unhappy. Su Qingying persuaded her for a few days before she felt better. The day before her wedding, Su Qingying met Su Qingliu. She had only been married for 2 years and was already worn out. At the age of 20, which is the prime of life, he is already haggard. Mother Su held her and cried loudly, unable to restrain herself. Su's father also stood aside and wiped his tears silently. The twins held Su Qingliu's arms on the left and right, crying and calling for their sister. Su Qingying looked at her niece in Su's father's arms who couldn't say anything, couldn't walk, only cried and stretched out her hand towards Su Qingliu, and her eyes were sore. "Let's go, Auntie will take you outside to see flowers." Su Qingying took Yaya from Su's father's arms, hugged her and walked out, taking the twins out as well. So that her parents can talk to her sister. "Qingying, she's a virgin," Su Qingliu choked and said to Su Qingying, worried that Su Qingying wouldn't be able to handle it. "It's okay, sister. You talk to your parents. I'll take her out for a walk. If she cries hard, I'll hold her back." With that said, he led the twins and walked out with the children in his arms. Yaya cried hard, twisted her body and stretched out her hands to reach Su Qingliu. Su Qingying hugged her and quickly ran out of the room. The twins helped to coax her, one on the left and the other on the right. Su Qingying said, "Qingyang, go get a piece of cake." Xiao Qingyang responded and ran away. Su Qingying carried Yaya to the kitchen. While swaying Yaya, she directed Xiao Qingxian to wash the pot and light the fire, preparing to prepare something for Yaya and her sister to eat. When Xiao Qingyang stretched out the pastry to Yaya, the little thing immediately grabbed it with her little hands, couldn't wait to hold it with both hands and put it into her mouth. The crying stopped, and there were two big tears hanging on his face. Su Qingying felt very distressed. With no one to help take care of such a big child, Su Qingliu had to tie her on her back when working. The baby was supposed to be white, plump and tender, but now it was skinny and dark, with few hairs. Su Qingying asked the twins to sit on the bench and hug her to coax her, while she got up to cook some batter and 2 egg yolks for Yaya to eat. After feeding Yaya, Yaya was already playing well with her 2 aunts and uncle. The twins had never played with such a young child like this before, and they were very excited. Even though I didn't have much strength, I still had to fight for the hug. I hugged Yaya's waist with straight arms and lifted her up. Su Qingying felt pain just by looking at it, but Yaya and her 2 uncles were grinning together. Xiao Qingxian hugged her, Xiao Qingyang chased her with the egg yolk and fed her, while Su Qingying spread her hands to protect her. It was too hot in the kitchen, so the 3 siblings decided to take Yaya out to see flowers and scenery. Su Qingying took Yaya over, held her in her arms, and walked out the door. Along the way, Yaya, who turned her head to look left and right, said, "This is a flower, that is a tree, a chicken, a duck." The little thing was amused by the 2 uncles while looking at it. "Qingying. Someone called me?" Su Qingying turned around and looked. "You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Madam, she has a tender heart." Author, Bha Xiaoye 11U. Chapter 20. When she looked at it, she saw Sudahu standing not far behind her, looking steadily towards her. His eyes were deep and filled with emotions that Su Qingying didn't want to understand. Xiao Qingyang wanted to take over Yaya, but Su Qingying wouldn't let her. Holding Yaya in his arms, he walked towards Sudahu, "Brother Dahu." Sudahu looked at her intently. Su Qingying hugged Yaya tightly and smiled at him. "You're getting married tomorrow." Sudahu's eyes lingered on her face. "Ah, yes. Congratulations, Qingying." "Well, thank you." The two were relatively speechless. Sudahu looked at Su Qingying, who was becoming more and more radiant, seeing her becoming more alive and beautiful day by day, and felt sour and bitter in his heart. If he had gone to the Su family to ask for marriage earlier, if he had run faster that day. Is it true that he will be the one to marry Qingying tomorrow? He and Qingying had been childhood sweethearts since they were young, and they could see her every day whenever they wanted to. She smiles beautifully and can enter his dreams every day. As long as he thinks about living with her in the future, Qingying taking care of his housework, and having children for him, as long as he thinks about these, he will be full of energy every day. But now, she is going to marry someone else. If he could also get 50 taels of silver. "Qingying, I can also make money, 50 taels, I can also make." Su Qingying looked at him, pleading sincerely, and sighed in her heart. Shaking his head, "Brother Dahu, find someone you like and start a family. You are quick and diligent, and your days in the future will only get better and better." After hearing this, Sudahu's eyes filled with deep sadness. Su Qingying couldn't bear to look at it. Sudahu shook his head. He had watched Su Qingying for 16 years, watching her grow from that little to the graceful figure she is now. He thought he could keep her, but he didn't expect that she would marry someone else. Sudahu tried his best to hold back the tears in his eyes, took out a silver hairpin wrapped in a handkerchief from his arms and handed it to Su Qingying. "This is for you, a congratulatory gift." Su Qingying saw him staring intently at the thing in his hand and felt that this thing should be of great significance to him. "Don't want it?" Brother Dahuo, please keep it for your sister-in-law in the future. I will keep your blessings in mind. Seeing that she refused to accept it, Sudahu couldn't hold back the tears in his eyes. He packed up the things and stuffed them into the gap between her and Yaya. This is what I gave you. It is my heart. After saying that, he turned around and ran away. Su Qingying hugged Yaya and chased him for a few steps. She saw that he quickly disappeared and stopped in a daze. Sister, please keep it, Brother Dahu almost cried just now. Xiao Qingyang likes Sudahu very much. When people bully him, Sudahu always helps him out, takes him to play, and helps his parents with work. The little thing also served as his messenger many times. Su Qingying lowered her head to look at Xiao Qingyang, and sighed inwardly when she saw Qingxing also raising her head to persuade her to put the things away. Rejection may make him collapse even more. I just sigh that fate plays tricks on people. At night, the sisters slept in the same room, and Xiao Qingxing and Xiao Qingyang slept in the outside room. They chatted for a long time before falling asleep, and Yaya fell asleep long ago. Su Qingliu and Su Qingying were talking in a low voice. When they talked about Sudahu, Su Qingliu let out a long sigh. Dahu is a hard-working and honest man who lives a down-to-earth life and has a lot of strength. If you marry him, you won't have your parents-in-law to boss you around. It will be a good marriage. Su Qingying listened to her chattering silently. Sudahu's conditions may be average, but his family is not burdened by trivial household chores, and Sudahu likes the original owner so much. It would be a happy thing for the original owner to marry him. Deplorable. At the same time, he was full of melancholy about the unknown life of the Lu family. She just wants to live a quiet life. If getting married can't add color to your current life and maintain your current quality of life, and if a man and his family will only consume you, then you might as well be a high-quality single nobleman. Su Qingying was frightened by the high divorce rate after separation and reunion. She just wanted to live alone and comfortably. If a woman wants to make money to support the family, do housework, take care of a man, and raise children alone, and the man's role is missing, it is really not as good as living alone or raising children alone and living a quiet life. When you have free time, do something you like to do, that's all. So before Wang hired her to the Lu family, she didn't resist. Before meeting Su Qingliu today, she learned something about Su Qingliu's married life from Su's father and mother, and felt a little sad for her. She was the eldest sister in her parents' family. She helped cook, take care of the children, and do housework even before the stove was hot. When she was older, she would follow the adults in the fields. She was so busy that she never had an easy day. And being married is worse than being in your natal family. Su Qingliu married a man who had lost his parents since he was a child. He thought he would not have to worry about problems between mother-in-law and daughter-in-law, but he did not expect that life would be even more difficult. Brother-in-law Kui Mangzhong is 3 years older than her sister. After his parents died, he grew up in his uncle's and aunt's house with plenty to eat. Grandma didn't care, because she had to rely on her son and daughter-in-law to support her in old age, so she never said a word or two to her eldest grandson. Logically speaking, the conscription would not be on his head, but who told him that the whole Kui family would not be separated? Several uncles and aunts said they wanted to support him and insisted on giving him a spot in the army. Before he was expropriated, Grandma had a hard time selling an acre of land at home and borrowing some money to marry him. She just got married and left, while Su Qingliu lived with her uncle, aunt, and grandparents. Because she had sold her land and borrowed money to marry her, her family didn't have a good look on her. And she herself has little confidence and a soft-tempered temperament, taking on all the hard and dirty work. When Yaya was born, there was no one to help look after her. Before the confinement period was over, Yaya was tied to her back and taken to the ground. After only 2 years, his face was haggard and his eyes were gone. Su Qingying took out a tael of silver from the purse given by Lu Bachan and stuffed it into her in the dark. What is this? Su Qingliu groped. After hearing that it was silver, he was so scared that he pushed it back to her. Sister, take it and hide it secretly. If you get sick or want to buy some food for Yaya in the future, you don't have to look at others. When I make money in the future, I will give you more. Su Qingliu refused several times, and finally took the money in tears. Afraid of waking up Xiao Qingxing, she cried quietly and repressedly. It made Su Qingying shed tears. Is this what Lu Bachan gave you? You take his money. What he gave to me is mine. The rest will be taken away by him when the time comes. After I get married, I will think about some ways to make money. When the time comes, sister, come and help me. Life will be easier in the future. Yes, Su Qingliu nodded heavily, looking forward to good days in the future. He seems pretty good. Yeah. It doesn't look bad. Then you live a good life with him. You took care of your sister's share. Okay, let's live a good life together then. Good. Madam, she has a tender heart. Author, Bha Xiaoye 11U. Chapter 21. The next day, before dawn, Su Qingying was woken up by Su's mother. She was in a daze and hadn't slept enough, so Su's mother nagged her while she and Su Qingliu finished washing her and put on her dowry. Marriage in rural areas is not so particular, and no one usually puts on makeup and powder. When getting married, they just put lipstick and rouge on their lips and cheeks. Su Qingying wanted to save her face before and change her image as a fire girl, but she didn't care about it yet. As soon as she finished dressing up, Xiao Qingyang came up and hugged her tightly, burying her head in her arms. Su Qingying thought he was reluctant to let her go, so she patted him comfortingly. But only Xiao Qingyang knew that he heard what the two sisters said last night. Great energy and vision surged in the hearts of little people. Sister, I will be obedient in the future and work hard to learn my skills. I will definitely let my parents and you live a good life. When the eldest brother is away, he is the backbone of the family. He will support their second family from this moment on, and he will definitely do it. Su Qingying was extremely moved when she heard this. This little thing was usually very sensible, but when she was about to go out, she came over and said these sensational words to her. Okay, stay at home, listen to your parents, and learn more skills. When my sister learns calligraphy in a while, she will come back to teach you. I will also send you to school next year to learn skills. Seeing that her brother and sister were tired, Xiao Qingxing also came to hug Su Qingying. This made Su's father, Su's mother, and Su Qingliu even more uncomfortable. Qingying. Su Qingying looked towards the door. Uncle Su Saiquan came over and handed her a pair of silver earrings. Su Qingying smiled at him and took it. Thank you, fourth uncle. Su Saiquan was a little shy. He gave the things and said a few words before going out. Su Qingying watched him go out and squeezed the things in her hands. She didn't have much contact with this fourth uncle. Seeing that he was not very talkative, she never took the initiative to talk to him. He was young. When Su's mother gave birth to Su Qingsong and Su Qingliu, he was not yet born, so he was only 1 year older than her. Su's father looked at his youngest brother and felt somewhat comforted. Mother Su, on the other hand, has mixed feelings. When Su Saiquan was born, Wang was old and had no milk to feed him, so he left him to Su's mother. At that time, Su Qingliu had not yet been weaned, so Wang threw Su Saiquan to her, and Su Qingliu didn't have enough to eat. The food in the countryside was not good, and Wang did not give her preferential meals when she gave birth. Her milk was not enough for the two children, so she had to stop Su Qingliu's milk and feed Su Saiquan exclusively. Su Qingliu had no milk when she was a child and was raised to be thin, but Su Saiquan was raised to be fat. King Liu had helped raise Su Saiquan and several younger siblings since she was a child. She started working even before she had a stove. When she was about to get married, her life was not going well. The Wang family hired her to such a family. King Liu is living like this now, and Su's mother cried for a long time last night. Qing Ying got married this morning, so she had to brace herself up and deal with it. Seeing that Su Saiquan had given Qing Ying a pair of silver earrings as a dowry, Zhang felt somewhat comforted. The second and third bedrooms in the house all gave gifts, and even the child's aunt who had not returned asked someone to send things back, but only Su Beizu, the second aunt who sold Qing Ying, said nothing. Qing Ying was about to go out, and her family had just come back. She didn't say anything when she came back. She didn't say anything about helping, but she just sat in the yard bragging to the villagers. She's afraid that others won't know that she has a business in the town. As soon as Mother Su was thinking about it in her heart, second Aunt Su appeared. Oh, Qing Ying looks much better in this outfit, not so dark anymore. Su Qing Ying wanted to roll her eyes after hearing this. If you marry me in the town, you will be close to your second aunt, but you have to come and go often. Your mother didn't agree before. How good the Lu family is. They have a shop, a house, and fields, and they also hire part-time workers. Qing Ying doesn't even have to do anything about housework when she gets married, she is the young mistress when she comes in. Su's mother didn't want to hear so much from her, but she still took credit for her achievements. He interrupted, her second aunt hopes that my son-in-law will be good in the future, and her second aunt will help. Living in this town is always more convenient than in our village. The expression on Su Beizu's face changed, and she smiled, that's for sure, I kiss my niece, how can the whole family watch it helplessly? Su Qingying glanced at her face and felt that her second aunt was quite good at talking. Everyone in the family was a bit like Lao Sudu, who was not good at talking, but Su Beizu looked like the Wang family. Just as he was thinking about it, he heard a scoff from beside him. She turned around and saw her cousin Zhao Yanran looking at her with disdain. The 15-year-old girl was fair and fair, with a fair face. She was dressed in bright clothes, with pearls on her head and a pair of heavy silver bracelets on her hands. She looked like someone from a wealthy family. Not in tune with country girls. Zhao Yanran originally came to see the wedding and the bride. After all, what girl doesn't yearn to get married? Normally she doesn't come to Kyoto village very often. This time she heard that her cousin was getting married, so her mother coaxed her to come to her maternal grandfather's house early in the morning with her parents and brothers to see the bride. Who would have thought that there is no red makeup in the courtyard, the bride does not have a phoenix crown, no exquisite makeup, no bride, no jewelry, no one adds makeup, and it is not even festive and lively. This is not a wedding. Zhao Yanran had deep disappointment on her face. She hadn't slept enough yet, so she came to see a wedding. What was she seeing? There was dissatisfaction on his face, but he didn't know how to hide it, and he showed his dissatisfaction and disdain clearly. Su Qingying looked at her face and saw that she had turned around and left. She was not going to talk to her, so why bother with the little girl? Aunt Su put down a piece of cloth and chased her daughter out. After giving birth to 3 children, she had only one daughter. She had held it in her hands since she was a child. If she hadn't been coaxed to come to see the wedding, she wouldn't have planned to come to her maternal grandfather's house. Afraid that she would show her emotions on her face and talk to outsiders, she hurriedly chased her out. Mother Su looked at the piece of cloth that Aunt Su put down, and glared at Su's father angrily, look at your good sister, every time she comes back, she wears gold and silver, for fear that others will not know that she is married to a good family. This niece you gave me a piece of cloth when you got married? If it weren't for her, Qing Ying wouldn't have to marry into the Lu family. In the future? What are you talking about? It's a big day. Father Su interrupted Mother Su's chatter. Mom, why bother with her? It's okay if we don't treat her the same way she treats us in the future, so King Liu persuaded. Mom, life is how people live it. I will live it well in the future, don't worry, Su Qingying also said. Su's mother was still feeling unhappy. Your aunt is so miserable that she asks someone to bring back a few pieces of cloth and 200 coins. She is much better married than your aunt, and she still looks like that. Su's father was silent for a while and said, do you think something happened to the eldest sister? No one from her family came when Qingying got married.